And just for like people know, like it's like morons tweet me like, oh, like how did you bet Kansas City -3 last week? It's because I bet on Sunday night, like when openers come out.
And to be fair, and this requires a little bit of humility on the part of the bettor, the likelihood you will, and I think a lot of people know this, but we get newer listeners all the time, or people who are just kind of parachuting in for NFL season. Just kind of ask yourself, okay, when the market first opens on a game, even an NFL game, so let's say it's yesterday, and it's directly after the second slate of afternoon games. If you're on the East Coast, those are the 4 o'clock games. Sunday Night Football has not yet started. A lot of times, that is when many, many, many books will start releasing the NFL spreads for the next week. And the limits on those spreads are very low. But if you are a casual bettor, and I'm going to guess for like 98% of the people that listen to our show, the limits here would more than accommodate the amount of money that you're betting per NFL game. And I'm not saying that because it's not saying you should bet more. Think about what I just said. 98% of the people listening, this would come, like, you're not alone. All of you, like, you probably all bet in a certain parameter of limits. For some markets, I bet within those parameters.
I just really started betting. I used to never bet openers here. Now, like, I'll come back and bet more as the week goes on, or bet different games. But I think it's a great way to get ahead of the market. It might not be for like the greatest sum of money in the world, but like for a decent chunk of change. And I feel like I'm gonna beat the closing number eventually.
I think a rudimentary understanding of especially quarterback injuries, but very significant injuries that have taken place that day, and sort of like it's like, this was more for later in the year, but if there's like a dramatic weather event looming in a place like Denver, Buffalo in the wintertime, something to be aware of, obviously, early in the week if it's possible, an understanding of those two things, all you're competing against, remember that the sportsbook's going to open the market. The only person you're competing against at that exact moment, like the stone openers, I've heard them called before, where it's basically just like the number literally hits the screen. No one has bet into it yet. All that's happening in that instance is it is essentially a competition between you, the bettor, and the person at the sportsbook who made the number and put up the number or copied the number from somewhere else. No money has been bet into that yet. What is the likelihood that number is good? Now, if you are a professional bettor, we have Rob Pizzola on all the time, and we'll even ask him about games on Wednesday. I'll even shoot him a note. Hey, like, I bet this Tuesday morning. Have you looked at this yet? And he'll be like, the limits aren't big. Like, I can't bet stuff right now. Like, the limits aren't big enough to accommodate how much money I want to bet. But if you're the person that listens to the show, or to be perfectly honest, if you're Nick and I in these kind of markets, it's worth it. It's worth it to get, your couple $100 in, your $500 in a game, whatever, your $50 in a game, your $20 in a game, whatever you end up betting when the openers are released. It's just you against that one person that works for the book. What is the likelihood you can gain an advantage over that person? Very high. What's the likelihood yesterday at 12:59 p.m. Eastern time, after millions and millions and millions of dollars have been bet into this, all injury information is totally known and available in public? What is the likelihood you can gain an advantage over like planet Earth, who's already bet into this game? Less than what it would be early in the week. So that's kind of like, I know it's a PSA we've done on the show all the time, but I actually feel like we haven't done it in a while. And people might be listening this year who didn't listen last football season being like, why does you guys bet so much money on like Monday? Like, why do they do that? And it's like, well, we don't always get the best of the number. I didn't get the best of the number last week, mostly because of injury reports. Thankfully, the Lions were still dead right in the game. That was wonderful. But just, it can be an approach like, consider that. And for whatever sports you bet, just consider that betting first might be more advantageous, especially if you're not betting very much money, than betting last.